Congratulations on this brand new album. I've had a chance to sit down and listen to it, and it's an amazing album, so congratulations.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that.
So tell us a little bit about how this album has come together, because I know you've written and recorded this entire album while we've been through lockdowns and things like that. How did this album come together?
Well, I didn't plan anything around it, really. It just came when as you said, the lockdown came by. I was releasing the first album in the same week, and for some reason I kind of understood I would be at home for a while, and for some reason I got inspired as well during this time, so I just took advantage of the time, because I didn't know. I know that once I start touring with Opeth, for example, I won't be able to sit down and write an album again. It's gonna take a while. So I just, since I was inspired during this time, I didn't think it twice. I just started writing, and everything came together really well. So I decided to record the new album when I had a few songs done.
Some people found during the lockdown that they couldn't be creative, that it kind of sapped all their creative energy. Did you find the opposite for yourself?
Actually, yes. For me, all those strange feelings I got in the body. I remember the news in the beginning were terrible, and nothing was really clear. All those feelings, I just felt inspired about that. And I don't know if it was about that, but I took advantage of the feelings as well. But for some reason, I got inspired. And yes, I think I wrote these songs in 3-4 months, which is pretty fast for me. So I was really on it.
And how did you find putting those emotions and feelings down onto paper when you first started to work on the album? Did you find that it felt like a little bit of a release for you?
Yes, actually, yes. It is some kind of unconscious therapy, when you play music. At least for me, it helped me to keep focus and keep me sane, I guess, in a way. I'm a person that I need to have a project in mind almost all the time, especially when I want to be home for a while. So yeah, for me it was perfect this time in that sense. It's been boring time. It's very strange and everything, but for me musically it's been great to be at home and experience the lockdown.
Yeah. How strict was the lockdown there for you? Because I know where we are here, it was quite strict. We weren't allowed to go any more than 5 kilometers from our house, and we were only allowed to go out for 1 hour a day for exercise. How strict were the lockdowns there for you?
Well, pretty much the same. The first 3-4 months were very strict. I think the first 2 or 3 months we only could get out to buy food at the closest shop, so we couldn't even go to the next town. But after 2 or 3 months, we, same as you say, I think it was 5 kilometers, something around. You could go out and take a walk or something like that. But it's been very strict the first couple of months.
Yep. So when you were working out the sound for this album, what were you hoping to achieve? Because that was one of the things that hit me with this album. There is such atmosphere there, but there also feels like you were really willing to be experimental with this album. So what were you hoping to achieve with the sound?
Well, about the sound, I wanted to have approximately kind of the same sound as I have in the first album. I think that's the type of sound I like to this style of music, at least the one I'm doing. And that means guitars not that distorted, as usually they do in metal bands. I play it as well as with a Stratocaster guitar, which is not the most common thing, maybe. But overall, the only thing I had in mind before I started writing this album was to make it a little bit more technical, a little bit more complex than the first one.
Yep.
But that was just because I wanted to express myself in different ways, you know. And the first album, I was really, I had the idea to make it as simple as possible to the ear, you know, not that technical. Just like the feelings take over the whole thing, you know, the emotions. But on this album, I wanted to express myself a little bit more, and that's sometimes with the technique and the way of composing is a bit different, yeah.
You also brought some other musicians in to work with you with this album as well. You had Joan on drums, and you also brought in a guitarist as well that you toured with. Tell us a little bit about bringing in those musicians and working with them, and what you feel they brought to the Whitestone sound as well.
Well, they did a lot, I think. In case of Joao, he's the lead guitar player. He couldn't come by for the studio when we were recording because he's living in Portugal, and at that time it was really hard to fly over here. So he only sent me the solos digitally, and then I introduced them in the music. But other than that, it was Joan, as you say, the drummer. He is new in this album, in the band. And I didn't know him personally. I met him the first time in the studio, actually. I called him like 2 months before we recorded the drums, and I sent him the demos, and he kind of practiced in his place, and then we met in the studio, and it was a great experience. He recorded the album in 2 days, and the chemistry was really nice. And then Eloy's been the first album as well, doing the vocals, but then we had the rest is me. I mean, the guitars, all the rhythmic guitars I did it myself, and the melodies and the bass. So it was the 3 of us, the 4 of us, sorry, participating in the recording now. Yeah.
Having J.O. have to send his music in, like his guitar pieces in from Portugal, did that make things interesting for you then when you had to sit down and put the tracks together, or is that just something that you get used to these days with technology the way that it is?
Well, in this case it was easy because it was only the guitar solos, you know, it's only 4, I think, in the whole album. And in that sense it was easy because I sent him the rhythms and the music that he should play on it, and then he plays the solo and send me all the solos, and I put them in the music. So in that sense it's really easy. It would be more difficult if we would do all the rhythm guitars as well, but it wasn't the case in this time.
So was it difficult to even get into the studio to record? Because I know here in Australia at one point you were only allowed to have, I think it was 2 people in the studio at the one time, so everybody went in with the producer and just did their pieces one at a time. Did you have any restrictions like that where you were as well?
No, but we took care of it ourselves. I record myself, both me and the vocals, for example, is me recording it, so I produce it very much everything. So it's been good because the studio is really close from where I live, and it's owned by Eloy, the singer. So, you know, it was easy for us to just meet because I could only walk 10 minutes and then I'm in the studio. And no, I mean, since we took care of everything, and it was only me, him, and the drummer when he was playing the drums, it was easy in that sense.
Yeah. I know you also left some of the sections of the songs open to interpretation for each of the musicians. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to do that, and also were you surprised with any of the interpretations that they took from some of the tracks?
Yes, I mean that was the case mostly for Joao, the guitar player. He made the solos as he wanted, and then the drums. I mean the drums. I programmed the drums when I do the demos at home, but in some sections I leave it very open for him because since I was watching some videos of him playing, I saw he's a great drummer. He plays jazz and flamenco as well, so he's a very, very, very nice drummer. And yes, some sections were pretty much open for him, and I told him you should do what you want here, and the result has been great. One example is one song called Iron Titans, and that song has pretty much three parts, like the intro, the middle part, and the end. The end part is like a kind of chaotic and drum soloing kind of part. I don't know how to say it. And that's one take he did, and the whole take once and improvisations. So it's been great. Yes, I mean they help a lot to improve the sound for sure.
Yeah, I know you also said that you didn't want this album to be too technical. You wanted it to be a little bit easier on the ear. Tell us a little bit about what made you decide to do that, and did that change the way that you went about the songwriting?
Well, the thing is that I don't like music when the technical specs takes over the feeling or the emotion of the song, and that's a thing that's pretty much common in the bands that play technical stuff, you know. This album, I wanted to do it a little bit more technical than the first one, but I think I managed to, in my understanding of music at least, I think I managed to, the songs speaks with emotions mostly, and not the technical aspects, you know. But that's the reason, because some stuff is hard to play anyway, but I don't think they are related to the how hard it is to play, and I think they are related more for the feeling it gives the sound, and that's my point, my idea at least to do.
Yeah. One of the things I love about musicians who work with multiple projects is, how do you know from now on when you sit down to work on a song if it's going to be a Whitestone song or an Opeth song? Is that something that you've thought about?
Oh, no, because I don't write for Opeth personally. So for me, it's when I'm writing for Whitestone, for example, I know what closely what kind of style I want to do, but I don't think much. Sometimes it came different styles, and I accept to put them anyway. In this album, I have a lot of interludes between the heavy songs, for example, and that's a sound I really like. So when I start writing this small interludes, I really like it, and I thought it was a great combination, and it gives a good dynamic to the whole album. So for me, I keep it pretty natural in that sense. I don't like to put any rules on me or any laws how I should do or not. So what it comes out is what it is, you know.
Definitely.
In a way.
One of the things that really hit me with this album was, like I said before, the atmosphere, and I was imagining what that atmosphere would sound like in a live setting. Is there any idea for you over there at the moment when you will be able to get back out touring again? Because we've just gone back into lockdown here, so is it looking better for you over there and touring?
That's hard to say. I mean, there is hope right now over here in Europe. I know people is planning tours and gigs, but for real, I don't think anybody knows really what's going to happen. Over here, it seems like everything is kind of start opening a little bit, but at the same time, I just hear all the time there's more and more cases of COVID, and so I don't know what's going to happen. But for us, what I would like to do at least is, since we haven't debuted live yet, and we have almost 2 albums release. I would like to do a debut over here, at least in Barcelona, because we are all from here. So it would be nice if it's possible this year to do a show that we can debut as a band at least. But I think next year is gonna be the year that, if it's gonna happen, then we wanna start touring again.
Definitely. Well, Martin, I know we are running right out of time, so I'd love to end the interview by asking, is there anything you would like to say to your Australian fans out there before they go out and grab a copy of this album in a couple of weeks' time?
Well, no, the album is coming out in August 27, at the end of this month, and I really hope you give a chance to listen to it, and hope you like it. And of course, I would love to come to your country and play for you as well. That will be a dream by now, but hopefully it's gonna be good soon.